Morning all you great guys and gals. It's Sunday, April 8th, and we're just getting started. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was a cold one last night. It got down to, I'd say, probably the mid-20s, and while I didn't freeze, it definitely was not comfortable. I think I had almost every layer I have on, curled up in the corner of that shelter. I had the shelter all to myself, which I thought would be a weird experience, but once it got a little bit dark and you close your eyes, no different than being in a hammock in that you really have no idea what else is going on around you. So not sure how many miles we're going to do today. The hip is sore. I think I might have pulled a muscle or something, I'm not sure. So we're going to take it slow and see how it loosens up. Whew. Hopefully it'll warm up here quickly. As we get moving though, definitely the body will start to get a bit warmer. I think we got an uphill pretty much off the start, so the big trick is try not to sweat. Right now, sweating is probably the last thing from my mind. One thing, when it's cold, you don't sleep all that well. You do wake up periodically and shift and try and get close off any of those cold spots that are coming in. So a bit of a restless sleep. Hopefully tonight will be better, although I hear it's going to be cold again. If the hip cooperates though, I'm actually hoping maybe to push a few bigger miles, potentially a 19. And if I do, that gives me opportunity tomorrow to hike into Irwin with about a 16-mile day tomorrow. And if I can do that, then maybe take a 0 day in Irwin and just give my hip a chance to recover a little bit more. Because I don't think it's an actual injury. It feels like just like a pulled muscle, but you feel it with every time you put the weight solely on that leg. Anyway, we'll bring out a little bit more. It looks like we might actually get some sun today, so potentially a few views. Welcome to my Hikification. So I'm starting today at Flint Mountain Shelter at mile 308.1 with a goal to get to Bald Mountain Shelter at mile 327 for a 19-mile day, which would be the biggest day I've put in thus far if I can make it. Starts with a slow declination downhill, getting to Rectal Laurel Road, but then a fairly steep climb after that mid-morning, then followed by a number of ups and downs periodically. We will pass the first shelter, Hog Bag Ridge Shelter, at mile 316.9 before getting to our first view at High Rock. Hopefully the weather will hold and we get a little bit of a view of the mountainscape. Then going through Sam's Gap and I believe under the highway before getting a nice view of Big Bald coming up, and then a very large climb coming out of Street Gap up to the top of Big Bald. There is a weather bypass just before the final big climb, which probably gives an indication of how tough that last climb is, but hopefully we can get up here. The views are pretty impressive at the top of Big Bald. Finally, we'll do the last couple of miles into Bald Mountain Shelter at mile 327, capping off a pretty big day. Hopefully it'll be a great one. Not sure if you can see it through the trees. That's where we came from yesterday. Clouds are just sweeping the top of the mountain, but the frost and the ice on the trees make it pretty cool. That's what we're climbing this morning. I believe we're coming to the first stairs that actually cross over a fence that you got to go up and over. And I may be wrong, but I think that's indicative of the fact that we're actually going to be on private property and the landowner has allowed the AT to go through his acreage, etc. But in the background, you see the nice mountain with the frost snow just on the top of it, sun just peeking at it. Should be an interesting day. So I mentioned last night I had the shelter all to myself. There was actually two, I'll call them 20-somethings, that came through around 6:30. They stopped though just to make dinner. They had aspirations of getting another couple miles in while there was daylight, and then night hiking, probably another 6 or 8, with the goal to narrow into Sam's Gap tomorrow and take a day at a shelter. Which, at the best times, I don't know if I would endeavor to undertake, but with the cold last night, I worry, or I would worry, that having to set up camp at 11 o'clock at night in the dark when it's negative degrees temperature or freezing degree temperatures, that can't be a recipe for fun. But everybody has their own hike to hike and choices to make. Me, I'm doing the no excessive chances if I can avoid it. This morning, about 6 miles in. Not making terribly good time, but we're getting there. Okay, since I missed all the blue blazes yesterday because of the weather, our first one for today, this is High Rock. Interesting. Outside of those 2 people that popped through the shelter last night, it's been the better part of a day without seeing anyone. I'm curious whether there's going to be anybody at the shelter tonight. My logic says it shouldn't be full, but experience is showing it's likely anything but. So yeah, it's a bit surreal because you see so many people in Hot Springs. Even that hostel the first night. And you get out here and I don't know what a bubble is, but you're definitely not surrounded by hikers. You have as much solitude as you could potentially want. Now I know the zombie apocalypse hasn't all of a sudden taken hold and people are disappeared because I can hear traffic way in the background. So I know there is still civilization. But it's thrown my perspective of what it means to hike, albeit in a mini bubble, a little bit out of whack. And maybe it's just the weather. Maybe it's the cold, and the other cold night has pushed people to Neros and Zeros in hostels and hotels in the various trail towns as a bit of escape. I guess we'll see. Tonight may be empty, but when we hit Irwin the next day, especially if I stay at Uncle Johnny's, still to be determined, that that should be filled up again. It's a bit muddy now. All this hoarfrost or ice or whatever it is on these trees starting to melt, and the ground is getting saturated again.
Thank you for coming out here and doing this for us.
A little trail magic.
Yep.
To the top of Big Bald. It was definitely a tough hike up. Some of the worst trail I've seen, just with mud and whatnot, but we made it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this those last 5 miles though at the end of a 19-mile day. Whew, that beat me up. I got about 1.2 miles left to the shelter, and I need to put my legs up. Okay, let's do the wrap up for Sunday, April 8th. It was a big day. Did 19 miles, the most I've done thus far. The scenery was really nice. The views over the top of Big Bald were pretty impressive. I am, however, really sore. I took about 3 or 4 spills today. The trail was just completely muddy. And so you couldn't take 2 or 3 steps without slipping. And so my clothes are completely dirty. Bag is completely dirty. Good thing, hopefully, I get into Irwin tomorrow and can find some laundry. Not sure quite what the plan for Irwin is. I'll figure that out in the morning. But I am planning to do the 17 miles to get there. I have a feeling it's going to be taking the day after off. I just don't know where yet. Whew. So we'll get a good night's sleep tonight. It was interesting today, all those trees with the ice in them. You were almost walking through a hailstorm at times as they slowly melted. The morning I really liked, the afternoon, not so much. Anyway, end of week 4. Till next time, hike on.